welcome to Powerful Presence TV. I'm Georgie and this is the beautiful Frances Peterson, and I've come down to her wonderful healing space in Lilydale, and we thought we'd share with you a bit of what Frances does and how she does it and a bit of her story. How are you going, Frances?
I'm going great, thanks Georgie. It's lovely to see you in person again. I saw you, I think, a year ago when we attended a seminar together, and I've seen you online, but now it's great to have a good old chat and meet you in person.
Which has been fantastic. So Frances, tell us about this beautiful space and what you do down here.
Okay, well, I'm a healer and a soul mentor, and I love to support both women and men when they're going through some kind of transition in their life. And that can be anything from going through a relationship breakdown, going through moving from one place or from one house to another, or going through some kind of challenging time in their life. And I like to help them find their next steps forward. And so the rooms that I have here, this room that we're sitting in at the moment is my waiting room, meditation room. I used to run meditation groups here. And in the other room I have my beautiful healing room.
And I saw all the sound bars. What are they for? They're like the massage tables here, and there's these amazing sound bars suspended above.
They're solfeggio chimes. And a few years ago I explored all about sound and using tuning forks, and using tuning forks through the aura but also on the body, as well as using beautiful essential oils. So I went through a phase there where I really wanted to explore other ways of healing. My healing journey began back in 1999 when I discovered Reiki. I wanted to support my third child at that time who was struggling with sleeping, and it's like all young mums whose children, go through challenging times and may not sleep. I was looking for an alternative that would help support him to sleep through the night, which would then mean I could sleep at night.
So you were sleep deprived, tired, anxious.
Yeah.
Two other babies, and a third
kids.
one. Wow, that must have been pretty overwhelming.
Well, it was, and I thought, and I was a firm believer that I didn't agree with pharmaceutical drugs. I didn't want to keep drugging him, and I didn't. There might have been a time I might have used
bit of Finnegan. I've done that once or twice back in the day.
Yeah. So then I discovered a lady who was teaching Reiki, but also teaching reflexology in a new age shop in Monbulk, where I used to live.
Okay.
And she said one of those would be the most beneficial for him, and which one did I feel resonated. And I thought, Reiki sounds really interesting. I love the idea of hands-on healing. So I did that. I became attuned to it, and then I put my hands on my son, and within a week he was sleeping. So I could see the benefits of it. So whenever my children were unwell, my hands were on and Reiki was flowing, and it just was amazing. So,
and did they feel the heat in your hands?
Did
they feel the energy?
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And my husband at the time too had suffered from sciatica, and I would often place my hands on him, and he really noticed the difference. So I could tell that this was a really powerful healing modality. But then I went on to explore other modalities that would support people on their healing journey.
So it was like an awakening for you. You had a little aha, this is my path. Yeah. And what were you doing? Were you at home being a mum, or were you working?
No, I was working full time in a family business. We had a farm in Monbulk, and we grew flowering bulbs. So I was in administration there. So working with children as well, and then maintaining a family home. So, but I also at that time discovered meditation. So of course my Reiki teacher then guided me in how to meditate, and from there on in I developed a daily practice of meditation. So that really supported me as well. Hands on each night, going to bed with Reiki, meditating each day. So earlier on I found how beneficial I would say complementary medicine is. It's fabulous. Yeah.
It's got that real resonance, hasn't it? That if you're tuned into it and you're open to receive it, wonderful things happen.
Yeah.
Now, you're in the family business, you're dabbling, working, creating, looking into healing, and then you had a big life-changing moment, didn't you?
I did. I've discovered that I didn't want to just continue doing what I was doing in administration, and as much as it was a family business and I loved what I was doing there, I felt I wanted to help more people with this healing work. And at that time, my husband and I were exploring putting up a room there at our property in Monbulk, and that I could start something up, part-time. But then, as a lot of marriages go through, issues and challenges, I found that my marriage was not supporting me, I suppose, in where I was heading. We had different ways of looking at things, and at that time where I was wanting to explore more into channeling information as well, I was also working with my sister and another lady to create psychic development groups for people. Then I
So you were becoming really expansive, and hubby was a bit arms crossed. What are you doing, woman?
Yeah.
And how old were you at this time?
Just after my 40s, early 40s.
Okay, yep.
I also got pregnant around 40 too, and I did lose that child. And that was a challenging thing because I wasn't really ready to have another. That wasn't part of the plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you really had a big whoa. What's happening with my marriage? I've just lost a baby. I've got this healing thing going on. I'm working. So what rounded it off to end up here? I suppose I realised that the marriage, staying married in a relationship where I felt that we were going, as I said, on different tracks. I didn't feel supported in where I wanted to go to. Our growth was just different. We both, I won't say it was totally mutual. I did choose to decide to leave, and I took the 3 children. We rented a house for 2 houses for a couple of years, and then finally after settlement I found this property here. I envisaged where I wanted to be. I just knew I had to have a view and I needed space. I wrote it down in a book with the kids in the backyard of a property that we rented in Monbulk. And I said it had to have good street frontage, it had to be light, because the house that we had, the family home, was quite dark with the
old
wood. Farm wood. Yeah.
And I needed a view of something. I wasn't sure what it was, but it needed to be open space. And interestingly enough, a few years later, that's where we ended up here.
Yeah, got a nice view to the water, and it is lovely space, and it's so light, this home.
It is.
It's beautiful.
It is.
I'm saying everything's really tactile. It's got that yummy feel to it.
Yeah. So we made it my own and made it the family's, and from here I've started to find ways of introducing people to come and have Reiki, and also the other modalities that I'd started to also work with. Yeah.
And what are you diving into now? We were going to have a bit of a session together.
Yeah. Back in 2016 I was exploring body language. I was looking at ways of how to get to know myself better and what makes me tick and how do I come across to people. I was really not confident, and I think at that time video was one of the ways to start to market yourself, especially if you're an entrepreneur and you're in business, you want to get yourself out there.
And it's free, it's easy, you sit on a couch, you talk to a camera like your friends.
Yeah.
Everyone, you need to do it.
Yes.
Employ me to help you.
Absolutely. And anyway, I was exploring body language. I thought, what can I do to become more confident? There's a lady in America called Vanessa Van Edwards. Now, she's an expert. She's got she calls it her laboratory, where she does experiments to see how people kind of relate to each other through their body language. And she was doing an interview of a lady called Jean Hayner in America, who is a professional face reader.
Wow.
And I watched Jean Hayner do this interview and this face reading for, I'm saying that I said that. It led me to that. But I was watching this video of Jean Hayner doing a face reading for a lady called Colette Baron Reid, who is a medium and clairvoyant, quite famous in America. I don't know if you've heard of her, but she's got oracle decks and etc. anyway, she was reading each of the features of her face, and I thought, wow, that's really interesting. I've not explored that, and my fascination led me to stalking her website, looking at other
professional research.
Yeah, that's probably the better word for it. And I put it out to the universe. I thought, if she puts on an online course, I want to learn this.
Okay.
With any new clients that come to me anyway, I always look at their birth date. I've always looked at their numerology. I don't know if you're familiar with numerology, but that's looking at a person's birth date and seeing what their life path is based on the vibration of the numbers in their birth date. And then I would look at their astrology, but mostly their sun sign and moon sign. So I'm not professional in those areas, just have a fascination.
Yep.
And also very curious about people and what makes them tick. And then by looking at that, that's how I would structure my healing session with them, because then I knew how to relate and build that rapport better with them.
How beautiful. So numbers tell you a story.
Absolutely.
About a person.
Yeah.
That's really wonderful.
So that didn't drive me to become professional in numerology, but this interest in how our features in our face and also looking at the patterns in your birth date can give more of an understanding of who you are did fascinate me. So
what a beautiful combination.
Absolutely.
Because they're both factual. It's like you're born with this face, this is what you've got, and your numbers are what you're born with. So there's science behind it.
Yeah. There is a science behind it. So I went on, Jean Hayner did actually put a course out. It was a 6-month course, and I was so grateful for that, and I thought time was freed up for me to actually watch and study her information. And then in February 2017, I flew to San Francisco and did her live training as part of the certification training. So met this amazing lady, I met a beautiful group of other people, and have been since studying with a small group of women from America, New Zealand, etc., continuing our learning, and still being mentored by Jean as well. This is a continual process, but I've been doing readings since then.
Yeah.
And Chinese face reading is what you call it. I give it a name that says your divine blueprint, because Chinese face reading sounds a bit confusing. It sounds like, okay, you do readings for Chinese people. Well, no, I give
readings for Chinese, African, Ethiopians, whoever needs one.
Absolutely.
But yeah.
But this is...
I like the divine blueprint.
Yeah.
Because it is. It's like your fingerprints.
Well, you were born with the features you have for a reason. It's like your soul intended for you to have these features and to also have these patterns in your birth date. And it's based on the ancient Chinese principles of Chinese medicine. So as Chinese medicine evolved over 3,000 plus years, it was basically they'd studied nature, and they would look at all the patterns of nature, and they realised that these patterns of nature are also in us. So we're part of nature and nature is part of us. So it only makes sense that as they watched and studied these patterns of nature and time, because timing comes into it as well in regard to cycles of time, that they would also impact us. So in China, the first therapists were face readers. So they would actually diagnose or look at the features of your face or a person's face, and they'd study it for what signs of imbalance might be happening with their health. And then they realised over a certain amount of time that these same patterns that they were reading also reflected that person's personality.
Okay.
What emotions were driving them, what core issues could come up for them, and also with the information that they could also see in the birth date, what true calling that person would have, and etc. So it's amazing in-depth information that you can derive from your face and your birth date. Yeah.
Shall we do one now? Are you keen?
I'm keen.
All right.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're going to do me.
Yes, yeah. Are you keen?
Yeah, I'm an
Fabulous.
open book.
All right. So what happens when I do a reading, I always say to people when they come, or I also do it online, that they come to the reading with a focus. Usually there's a question that they might like to focus on. It could be, I'm looking at a career change. What do you think is best for me? Or I'm thinking about moving house this year. Is that a good idea? Or I'm having a relationship issue. Can you give me some insight into that? So if you were to think about what you might want to focus for your reading, Georgie, what would might that be?
The direction of my business and this creation of, interviewing women and learning and where's that going?
Mm-hmm. Fabulous. And we had a bit of a chat before we started. I've got your birth date and I've also got your patterns. And when I talk about patterns, we're looking at the patterns that are derived from the 5 elements of nature. So the 5 elements of nature are water, wood, fire, earth and metal. So each of these patterns in nature have certain patterns that reflect certain core issues, qualities in our nature and in our face, all the stuff that makes up who we really are on the inside, and also about what our true calling is. So definitely we can have a look at that.
Let's have a look.
Firstly, what we'll do, I'll have a look at your features of your face. I'll just have a look at a few of them, and then I'll come to your birth date, and we'll see what that says about you. So the first thing I tend to do. The first thing that I do is I look at a person's profile. So if I may look at you from the left side.
That's my right.
Your right side, thank you. And can I also have a look at your forehead?
Oh, yes.
Yes. So if you look that way, beautiful, fabulous. Beautiful strong nose, nice rounded forehead, nice chin, good size ears as well, fabulous. All right. Okay, beautiful.
I like that. Good size ears as well.
Yeah, they're beautiful. So what I'm looking at is the particular patterns or these elements of nature that I see in your face. So you've got some nice strong patterns that relate to water, which tells me that straight away your forehead tells me that you're a person who's highly intuitive, very creative. You can come up with really creative ways of solving problems, or even do whatever you do is very highly creative. A rounded forehead or a dome forehead on a person can reflect that you've also inherited something from your ancestors. Now, this can be a gift that you may have inherited that maybe grandmother might have had and you're now doing, or it can be a particular talent, or it can be a challenge. It could mean that something that was an issue up the line in your ancestry might have come down to you for you to understand and realise what it is and to heal it, so that it doesn't have to continue down the line.
I'm up for that.
Yeah, so that can be your homework, to have a look at that and see what that may be. So when I'm looking at these features that we call water, I'm looking at ears, and the size of the ears can talk to me about that. And you've got nice wide ears and nice large ears, which talks about you not being too scared to take a risk. It's like you look at things, and where somebody with small ears and narrow ears may not, they'd be very cautious and won't choose to make a decision or go a certain way. You're prepared to have a look at something and say, I'm going to go for that.
Knees knocking and teeth chattering.
Yeah. Coming to your chin, you've got a nice strong chin here, which tells me you've got a good heavy dose of determination and willpower, which helps you to get through even the most challenging circumstances. But this also tells me that people can see you as being a little bit stubborn, that you might dig your heels in if you don't really want to go a certain way, and they may as well give up trying to change your mind.
Didn't I say I can be a tyrant at times?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. And also nice strong philtrum here as well. That's the part underneath the nose. So you've got a good amount of what I say water features in your. What this also talks about emotionally, because there's an emotion that relates to each of the elements of nature. The emotion that relates to water is fear. Now, this can be a fear of being seen to be different, or feeling misunderstood, or feeling like you're the outcast and being left out of things. I don't know if that's come up for you through your childhood. It can mean, because you have this beautiful, highly creative mind, you've also got can be highly imaginative. So it can mean sometimes you can create stories out of things that may not necessarily be true.
My family calls me the embellishment queen.
Do they? Yeah.
Why don't you tell it like Georgie?
Yeah. And also what this can come up for you is You're a person who, when you think about water, we can often see what's at the surface of water like an iceberg, but underneath the surface of water is quite deep, and we can't always see what's beneath the surface. Emotionally, you're a very deeply feeling person, and you can kind of hold your emotions quite deep, and it can be hard for you sometimes to express those emotions. So you can feel, somebody can make a criticism or a cutting remark to you, and on the outside nobody will really know that that's happening for you, that you're quite calm, quite collected, but on the inside it can cut really deep.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes, 100%.
Yep. I'm going to come to some of your other beautiful features. You have beautiful, strong eyebrows here, which talks to me about you having a drive and a passion to create. Well, it means you have a vision. You have a vision of what it is you want to create and move towards, and you're very good at putting the practical steps in place to achieve that goal. Does that make sense?
Well, that's good. I like practical things in place with my wacky visions.
Now, with the eyebrows can talk about also a person's level of confidence, and so the thicker and the more prominent the eyebrows, the more confident you can be. And sometimes there's the polarity where a person can have this feature and display that confidence, and sometimes they're on the opposite side and can actually not feel confident. It can mean that in their younger years, maybe an authority figure may have suppressed that. But I'd say with you, have you ever experienced that where you felt a little bit less confident, or is for you kind of felt more confident?
Mostly more confident.
Yeah.
But I do have like times where I'm like, really have to breathe through this one. This is like, okay, stepping out. It's tricky, but I find once I'm in it, I'm okay.
Yeah.
It's that place before you get into or sharing what you're doing.
Yeah. And there's an emotion that relates to this particular pattern, which we call wood in nature. Wood's all about growth and transformation. Anger is the actual emotion. Now, there's different types of anger, and people tend to shy away from anger and say it's a negative emotion. But actually, this emotion is this like rocket booster that helps propel you forward with creating that goal and moving towards it. So if you're ever to feel a bit frustrated that things are not going the way you'd like them to, this kind of frustration can lead to anger. But it's up and out and over quite quickly, and then it pushes you forward.
Yeah. I've always been a go.
Yeah. Fabulous.
Yeah.
There's certain features also on your face that talk to me about you being a person that really values the quality of your work. Everything you'll do is got to be just right. Some people may perceive you as being a bit of a perfectionist, having really high expectations of both yourself, but also they can feel like you have expectations of them. Does that make sense?
So be aware of that in my life.
Yeah, be aware of that, because sometimes that may come across to them that they may not be able to fit the bill or be able to meet your expectation, and then stand back and saying, am I kind of being a little bit more demanding of them than they're capable to provide. Beautiful cheekbones that talk about, in Chinese medicine they call these bossy cheeks, or bossy woman's cheeks, but it's actually, and it would have been frowned upon way back in hundreds of years, thousands of years ago in the Chinese culture, but in this day and age this is really supportive of you being a person that knows how to guide or direct other people, manage other people, for instance. I don't know if you've done work in the past where you've been able to kind of say, okay, you do that, you do that, you do that. And also talks about, you also got a nice strong nose, which talks about you being a person who has a good certain sense of her own power. And again, this talks about being very focused on creating, perfection, but also admiring beauty as well. And I've watched your videos and I've seen how they come across so beautifully. And it's about creating beautiful experiences for other people as well.
Yeah, I like that with my photography and my words. People are like, you're so inspiring. There's so much ugliness out there. I want to be one of the shining lights that you can look at it and go, oh yeah, that feels lovely.
Yeah.
So that's really good.
Yes. And these features talk to me about you being a person that has a vision, and also can like to be in control of how that comes about. If I come back to your birth date and look at the patterns in your birth date, particularly about the question we had about your career and your dream about where you want your business to go, one particular pattern in your birth date tells me that you're a person that has leadership qualities. So you're able to have the grand vision of where things need to go and then be able to implement them, and also being able to direct other people to do that. In Chinese medicine, if we were to look at archetypes, this is the archetype of the father or the king archetype, meaning that if you think about the father's role, his job is there to support the family, provide for the family, look at what needs to be done and make sure that things get done. And he has the vision. You know, if you look at the king, he has the grand vision.
Yeah.
So this I can hear coming up for you today when you were mentioning about your vision about where this business can go. Perfectly fits in with where you're heading. People with this particular pattern are always looking at their life purpose, saying, am I fulfilling my life purpose? And your question doesn't surprise me, because normally when I look at this pattern come up in the person's birthday, particularly where it's placed in the birthday, that's always going to be your thing. Am I on my path? Am I being authentic to my true nature? Am I fulfilling my calling? And absolutely, you're right on the path. You are doing amazing work. And if I come to your face and we just look at these two lines here, these are called purpose lines. So don't want you to try and get rid of them. When we talk about big ones. They're beautiful, which tells me that you are being true to your nature. The older we get, the more we step into that, being more true to ourselves. And you're a person who's going to genuinely want more authentic, meaningful relationships. But anything you do, because I look at the plumpness of the nose and certain features in your face, this tells me that anything you do is with this really kind, compassionate, nurturing nature that you have, really supportive of other people's growth, and it's absolutely in line with everything that you were envisioning for yourself. Yeah,
that's fantastic, because when I'm not on my path, my purpose path, I get really sick or have a life-threatening accident, like something majorly happens, and I've looked back at that and went, every time I've been a bit confused or skew-whiffed or felt like there was something missing, and then I've slammed into this huge life-changing, that one of those tragedy to triumph sort of things, get over this and then peel that layer off and go. So that's really fascinating.
This also tells me, I'm going to come to your eyes if I may. You've got beautiful open eyes with a lovely shen in your eyes. Shen is the light in the eyes.
Shen.
So sparkle those beautiful shen lights in your eyes. This talks to me, you're a person that likes to communicate from the heart. You're a really heart-to-heart person who just wants to spread, sparks of joy with people. And you want that beautiful connection. Connection is really, really important to you. So you have some beautiful features that are very much in line with this. This also tells me that you're an empath. So a few of these different patterns in your face tell me that energetically you really are aware, highly aware of the details around you. Can pick up details like even a picture being a little bit crooked on the wall.
Oh, I'm that person, yes. I walk past and actually make sure no one's looking.
Yeah. So you pick up the energy of your environment, but you also pick up the energy of people.
Yeah.
And so space is always going to be important for you. You'd hate to be in a room that's too cluttered, although you like material things that make you feel comfortable. But when it comes to being hemmed in or being in a shopping centre at Christmas time...
I'm that woman who steps outside and needs to air. Yeah. Wow.
And also you're an empath when it comes to, you also sense people's emotions. It's like you're feeling emotional all of a sudden. You think, oh my God, why am I feeling so sad? You are actually picking up somebody else's sadness and may think it's your own. So from now on in, I want you to kind of stop for a minute and just say, okay, is this mine or is this somebody else's I picked up?
And if anyone else feels that, what is a technique that we can do?
Just the awareness and
Okay.
pulling away, and maybe breathing and just becoming more centered and coming back to your own body,
Yeah.
coming back to your own womb and heart space, and even creating an energetic bubble around yourself. But just the awareness that, hang on a minute, I have a part of my nature that talks about me being that kind of empathetic person who feels people's stuff. You can also read people's thoughts as well. You're picking up on other people's thoughts. And there is another part in your birth date that tells me that you are very aware of the vibration around you as well. So it can be that you get bombarded from all
Okay,
angles.
because I feel overwhelmed often and need to retreat after a big, sort of countdown going, it's only 4 hours till it's over, till I can be at home. So, wow. All right.
Yes.
So really work. And if anyone else feels that, to work on, just maybe visualising cutting off people's ties or energy, and coming back into your body.
Absolutely. Wanted to briefly look at the year that you're in, because as each year we talk about the energy of time or timing. So you this year are in the first year of a new 9-year cycle. Chinese work with the cycles of 9 years. So last year you were completing a 9-year cycle.
Yeah, felt like it.
It was like the completion or the endings of something in your life, and something may have come just to an abrupt end or just a gradual end. This year it's very important for you to be aware of that transition, which can be quite difficult. You're moving from an energy last year where you might have been more in the spotlight, and people may have seen you more. If you'd sent out a resume, yours will have been seen more likely than somebody else's. This year, it was probably a more joyful year. You were very focused on just being lighter and enjoying life. This year it's a different energy. So you've moved in from what we call the energy of a fire year last year into that beautiful flickering flame and being seen, into a year which is the water year. And the energy of water, it can be quite, as I said, quite deep. And people may not hear you or understand you as well as you may be wanting them to. So you might be communicating something and people are standing back and not really.
Yeah, what planet's she on? Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
So it's a year that's there's a lot of stillness this year, and very creative. Really important for you to spend time dreaming. Really dreaming big about what you want for your next your 9 years. And I can see, as we talked earlier about your vision, this is fabulous. And as you said, you go off and you meditate or you get downloads. This is a powerful year for that to happen. And then next year will be the year where you really plant those seeds for the foundation of what will continue to grow from here on in. So
and that feels so true, because I'm about to turn 50 and there's something in that coming into the matriarch or the wise woman, the crone, periods have stopped, menopause has kicked in.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting that it's also a new cycle for me.
It is, yeah. So beautiful things are about to happen for you. Don't feel that you have to push this year. This is not a year for really pushing on and trying to make something happen. Next year you can start to get that starting to roll, even though it's 2 years down the track where things will really start to grow. Gradual steps, allowing yourself to continue to develop that dream.
So planting the seeds and just watering, nurturing.
That'll be next year. That'll be next year where you plant the seeds, but this year continue to dream and still put this dream or this vision together. And allow to have those dreams at night, to download from them. And as I said, dream big. Don't dream small, dream big. You're allowed to do that this year. Yeah.
Yay! Wow, that's exciting.
So that's just some bits. And as I said, normally a reading takes a good 90 minutes. Sometimes I go over time with readings because we get so, involved in what it is, the focus that we have for a reading. And
then there'd be focuses that sort of, okay, if I do that and that says that, then this is another thing that relates. So so how do you do it? On Zoom, face to face?
Yes, face to face.
So it can be worldwide.
Absolutely, it can. I'm looking at developing that even more, because I'd love to see this go out to the world more. This is such a beautiful way for people to come to understand who they really are on the inside. basically I'd like to alleviate depression in the world. There is so much depression, particularly in our young folk. They say statistically wise, you know, young people are the ones who are predisposed to being angry, frustrated, get depressed, and the suicidal rates really, really worry me. And so I'd love to communicate with parents, for instance, and read for them, but also read for their children.
Yeah.
Because we can read, you know, children's faces as well.
And then do you provide a report so people can go back?
What we do is we record the session.
Fantastic.
So they can record it on their phone,
Yeah.
or I do a recording on my phone, and then I email that particular reading. And as I say to clients, it's a reading for life. You can come back and refer to this all the time, because this is a reading about you.
Yeah.
And yes, we can look at the energy of the year and predict what the energy is going to influence, but this is about you.
The core issues are there.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that's my dreams, that I get this out more into the world, where mums and dads, for instance, can understand what makes them tick, and why there's these communication issues with their children, and what they need to understand about their children, because I can look at their children's faces, look at their children's birth date, and then help them understand, well, your child may emotionally react like that, and this is how you can navigate that. Instead of telling a child who needs to feel nurtured and supported, telling them, no, go to your room and what have you, disconnecting
You've got the
from them.
resources to think, oh, okay, hey, hun, can you just sit quietly here while we talk about this?
Yeah.
And they will respond differently. So
Yes.
could change behavioural patterns, which would be so handy as a parent with pre-teens to have this information as they come into this huge new part of their life.
Absolutely. So the more we can understand our children, understand ourselves, we have to understand ourselves first. Understanding is so important. Understand yourself, have more compassion for yourself, and then really develop that self-love. That's my ultimate vision for the world. Absolutely.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And how can our audience find you?
They can find me on my website, which is healingvibrations.com.au, and as you go into that, there is a tab that you can go into your divine blueprint, and that gives a bit of a kind of a bio about what this particular reading's about. And they can, if they're local or close by, they can book in for a reading
in Melbourne.
Yes, and they can have a Reiki session as well. A beautiful, you know, it's a 2.5 hour session where they have the first part as the reading, and then the second part have a beautiful Reiki session, which helps them integrate that
and then you've got the sound vibrations as well.
Oh yeah, I've got all my beautiful tools.
Yeah, you'll love it here. So we'll put the info in the show notes, and thank you so much, Frances, for having me.
Oh, thank you very much, Georgie. As I said, lovely to see you, and I really love your vision for the future and the support you're giving out to the world. Yeah, beautiful. Thank you.
Fabulous. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. See ya.
Bye.